121. You manage your organization's Security Operations Center, SOC. You currently monitor and detect network traffic anomalies in your Google Cloud VPCs based on packet header information. However, you want the capability to explore network flows and their payload to aid investigations. Which Google Cloud product should you use? A. Marketplace IDS. B. A VPC flow logs. C. A VPC service controls logs. D. A packet mirroring. E. Google Cloud Armor Deep Packet Inspection. Correct answer D. Packet mirroring. 122. Your organization acquired a new workload. The web and application app servers will be running on Compute Engine in a newly created custom VPC. You are responsible for configuring a secure network communication solution that meets the following requirements. Only allows communication between the web and app tiers. Enforces consistent network security when autoscaling the web and app tiers. Prevents Compute Engine instance admins from altering network traffic. What should you do? A. 1. Configure all running web and app servers with respective network tags. 2. Create and allow VPC firewall rule that specifies the target/source with respective network tags. B. 1. Configure all running web and app servers with respective service accounts. 2. Create and allow VPC firewall rule that specifies the target/source with respective service accounts. C. 1. Redeploy the web and app servers with instance templates configured with respective network tags. 2. Create and allow VPC firewall rule that specifies the target/source with respective network tags. D. 1. Redeploy the web and app servers with instance templates configured with respective service accounts. 2. Create and allow VPC firewall rule that specifies the target/source with respective service accounts. Correct answer is D. D. 1. Redeploy the web and app servers with instance templates configured with respective service accounts. 2. Create and allow VPC firewall rule that specifies the target/source with respective service accounts. (123). You need to connect your organization's on-premises network with an existing Google Cloud environment that includes one shared VPC with two subnets named production and non-production. You are required to use a private transport link. Configure access to Google Cloud APIs through private API endpoints originating from on-premises environments. Ensure that Google Cloud APIs are only consumed via VPC service controls. What should you do? A. 1. Set up a Cloud VPN link between the on-premises environment and Google Cloud. 2. Configure private access using the restricted.googleapis.com domains in on-premises DNS configurations. B. 1. Set up a partner interconnect link between the on-premises environment and Google Cloud. 2. Configure private access using the private.googleapis.com domains in on-premises DNS configurations. C. 1. Set up a direct peering link between the on-premises environment and Google Cloud. 2. Configure private access for both VPC subnets. D. 1. Set up a dedicated interconnect link between the on-premises environment and Google Cloud. 2. Configure private access using the restricted.googleapis.com domains in on-premises DNS configurations. The correct answer is D. 1. Set up a dedicated interconnect link between the on-premises environment and Google Cloud. 2. Configure private access using the restricted.googleapis.com domains in on-premises DNS configurations. 124. You are working with Protected Health Information, PHI, for an electronic health record system. The privacy officer is concerned that sensitive data is stored in the analytics system. You are tasked with anonymizing the sensitive data in a way that is not reversible. Also, the anonymized data should not preserve the character set and length. Which Google Cloud solution should you use? A. Cloud data loss prevention with deterministic encryption using AES-SIV. B. Cloud data loss prevention with format preserving encryption. C. Cloud data loss prevention with cryptographic hashing. D. Cloud data loss prevention with Cloud Key Management Service wrapped cryptographic keys. Correct answer is C. Cloud data loss prevention with cryptographic hashing. 125. You are setting up a CI/CD pipeline to deploy containerized applications to your production clusters on Google Kubernetes Engine, GKE. You need to prevent containers with known vulnerabilities from being deployed. You have the following requirements for your solution. Must be cloud native. Must be cost efficient. Minimize operational overhead. How should you accomplish this? Choose 2. A. Create a cloud build pipeline that will monitor changes to your container templates in a cloud source repository's repository. Add a step to analyze container analysis results before allowing the build to continue. B. Use a cloud function triggered by log events in Google Cloud's Operations Suite to automatically scan your container images in Container Registry. C. Use a cron job on a compute engine instance to scan your existing repositories for known vulnerabilities and raise an alert if a non-compliant container image is found. D. Deploy Jenkins on GKE and configure a CI/CD pipeline to deploy your containers to Container Registry. Add a step to validate your container images before deploying your container to the cluster. E. In your CI/CD pipeline, add an attestation on your container image when no vulnerabilities have been found. Use a binary authorization policy to block deployments of containers with no attestation in your cluster. Correct answer is A and E. 126. Which type of load balancer should you use to maintain client IP by default while using the standard network tier? A. SSL proxy. B. TCP proxy. C. Internal TCP/UDP. D. TCP/UDP network. Correct answer is D. TCP/UDP network. 127. You want to prevent users from accidentally deleting a shared VPC host project. Which organization-level policy constraint should you enable? A. Compute.restrict shared VPC host projects. B. Compute.restrict XPN project lien removal. C. Compute.restrict shared VPC subnetworks. D. Compute.shared reservations owner projects. Correct answer is B. Compute.restrict XPN project lien removal. 128. Users are reporting an outage on your public-facing application that is hosted on Compute Engine. You suspect that a recent change to your firewall rules is responsible. You need to test whether your firewall rules are working properly. What should you do? A. Enable firewall rules logging on the latest rules that were changed. Use Logs Explorer to analyze whether the rules are working correctly. B. Connect to a Bastion host in your VPC. Use a network traffic analyzer to determine at which point your requests are being blocked. C. In a pre-production environment, disable all firewall rules individually to determine which one is blocking user traffic. D. Enable VPC flow logs in your VPC. Use Logs Explorer to analyze whether the rules are working correctly. Correct answer is A. Enable firewall rules logging on the latest rules that were changed. Use Logs Explorer to analyze whether the rules are working correctly. 129. You are a security administrator at your company. Per Google recommended best practices, you implemented the Domain Restricted Sharing Organization policy to allow only required domains to access your projects. An engineering team is now reporting that users at an external partner outside your organization domain cannot be granted access to the resources in a project. How should you make an exception for your partner's domain while following the stated best practices? Turn off the domain restriction partner's cloud identity or Google Workspace customer ID as an exception under the organization policy. A. Turn off the domain restriction sharing organization policy. Set the policy value to allow all. B. Turn off the domain restricted sharing organization policy. Provide the external partners with the required permissions using Google's Identity and Access Management (IAM) service. C. Turn off the domain restricted sharing organization policy. Add each partner's Google Workspace customer ID to a Google group. Add the Google group as an exception under the organization policy, and then turn the policy back on. D. Turn off the domain restricted sharing organization policy. Set the policy value to custom. Add each external partner's cloud identity or Google Workspace customer ID as an exception under the organization policy, and then turn the policy back on. Correct answer is D. Turn off the domain restricted sharing organization policy. Set the policy value to custom. Add each external partner's cloud identity or Google Workspace customer ID as an exception under the organization policy, and then turn the policy back on. (130) You plan to use a Google Cloud Armor policy to prevent common attacks such as cross-site scripting, XSS, and SQL injection, SQLi, from reaching your web application's backend. What are two requirements for using Google Cloud Armor security policies? Choose two. A. The load balancer must be an external SSL proxy load balancer. B. Google Cloud Armor policy rules can only match on Layer 7, L7 attributes. C. The load balancer must use the premium network service tier. D. The backend service's load balancing scheme must be external. E. The load balancer must be an external HTTPS load balancer. Correct answer D and E. D. The backend service's load balancing scheme must be external. E. The load balancer must be an external HTTPS load balancer.